Folks, and we're talking to UNC NATEX member and attorney at law Brian Baig. A pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Baig.
Good evening, Mikey. As always, a pleasure to be on your program.
Always a pleasure to have you on. I know you've been doing a lot of work, and I know your heart went out to these parents and the babies, of course, those babies that died in the Port of Spain General Hospital, NICU. Of course, the three-member team from the Pan American Health Organization has completed the investigation into the deaths of the babies. Now, what kind of stood out there is that I believe they said it was just 7 babies when it was more than that. And I believe that Senator Wade Mark had asked the question if all the figures, as far as all the babies who unfortunately died, would be part of this investigation. But however, we move on. And the parents of the babies, of course, have raised questions about why they were left out of what is now being labeled a one-sided investigation. What's the legal course here? Tell us, please.
Well, first of all, let me say that the deaths of these babies, my heart really goes out to them. My condolences to the families. This is yet another national tragedy, Mike. This is a national tragedy that can also be compared to what happened with those divers in Paria. We had lives lost. I listened to this report from the minister, this Minister of Health, a man who, in any real democracy, would have already got his packing bags, if you understand what I mean by that.
Of course.
He would have gotten his packing orders. This PAHO investigation was nothing more to me than a sham. You went and you investigated 8 deaths. When these death tolls went past 11, it went past 12, it went past 13. And then you are then telling me that the families were not even interviewed. So what kind of investigation was that? And it has to be the fastest recorded investigation, I think, in the history of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And I am very happy that the families sought independent legal advice by the means of Anand Ramlogan Senior Counsel. And I have no doubt that he will deal with them in the way the law allows. Because this is clear negligence. This is clear medical negligence from what I have been seeing. And not only must the NWRHA be held liable, but the Ministry of Health must also be held vicariously liable. Because these persons would have worked under the umbrella of the Ministry of Health. Yeah, and the Ministry of Health has to take some responsibility as well.
Yeah, but Mr. Baig, what stands out as well is that there was a release from the NWRHA, and it says that they will continue to work with PAHO to complete the independent review. Now, I mean, the way things are in this country at this time, we was just speaking to your colleague, Mr. Saddam Hussein, and he said that would just be wishful thinking that when you have these reviews and these investigations, that when the report is submitted, it will, of course, show where the accountability, who's accountable, and where exactly things went wrong. But we have waited for that for the past 9 years when it comes to many different issues in this country. So definitely we're not going to hold our breath. But is there a sense, the fact that so many of these things have been going on and there has been less trust placed on the system, that people feel at the end of the day that they just don't have what it takes to get that legal redress that is needed to say, listen, we can get justice?
Oh no, my friend, justice will come. I am of all of the belief in our judicial system. I believe that our jurisprudence is one of the best in the world, especially when you have a man like Anand Ramlogan Senior Counsel on your side. And I expect that wherever this matter goes, Anand Ramlogan shall ensure that there is justice to this family. Because you're listening to some form of investigation also being done by the RHA. But who is investigating who? Himself investigating himself? That's like Gayelle TV investigating Gayelle TV. Really? They must have an independent person dealing with this. And don't tell me PAHO. Don't tell me PAHO. I cast no aspersions against PAHO. But with this current PNM Rowley-led government, we don't trust this government. Nothing can be trusted. Because as you were quite correct in speaking with my colleague, Mr. Saddam Hussein, Member of Parliament, who was very well put together this evening, we are seeing yet again more issues happening in this country, where we saw with the Auditor General. And back to the substantive issue that you have me for. These families, when you listen to their reports via their counsel, you can tell that the ministry tried everything to ensure that these people don't know what's happening. How can you tell a mother? How can you tell a mother, well, don't worry, the child okay, but yet your child is dead? So you can tell a dead person they're okay. That makes any sense, Mikey?
Well, look, from a legal perspective, Mr. Baig, just how important was it to have that information from the parents, submitted into that investigative report?
It is very important, because you're now getting one side from the, from the technical side, in the form of the doctors and whoever. But you will also hear from the side of the families, of the victims, as to how they feel and what is happening here. So that way it's a one-sided report. I just can't believe how this was done. And further to that, this is clear negligence. And this is not the negligence in the form of where, when you look at the law of negligence, Mike, first of all, you must establish there's a duty of care.
Right.
The duty of care is upon the hospital / medical team / NWRHA, right? And that duty of care is to ensure that you ensure that the persons are taken care of, they are well and everything. But then, however, if there is a breach of that duty is not that test of a normal person on the Clapham bus, or we would say on the normal PTSD bus. That breach would now be tested by that of if another doctor would have done the same thing that they did, or would a medical professional done what they did. And that's under the test of the law of, in the case of Bolam. That's the Bolam test. And because of the breach of their duty, it caused damages upon a person, vis-a-vis death. And that is where the issue of negligence comes in. Now, once those three tests are satisfied, then it is clear there's some form of negligence. And so for all the evidence that I have seen, all the evidence that I have heard, it is clear. From what I have seen, there is an action to be taken here.
Yeah, but at the same time, Mr. Baig, I mean, there are people who would say, listen, people may make this into some political football. But if anything, the people who are responsible, especially the line minister, Minister Dayal Singh said, further, while the public must recognize there is one major issue in one ward. I mean, he doesn't use the word deaths or whatever, but there's one major issue, and I guess the major issue is the fact that babies are dying in one hospital. This country's entire healthcare system continues to function because of the dedication of all the professionals. And no one is throwing aspersions behind any, whether it be a nurse or a doctor, but basically we want to ensure that this is not repeated, and where in the process it broke down, that these babies became in a vulnerable state, that they were exposed to something. That's it. I don't think there's anything here for political traction or to make a political football or to try to gain PR out of it. These babies are dead.
Mikey, that's the issue, that there was the loss of a life. And further to that, I listened to the Minister of Health. When the Minister of Health said that there are things put in place to take care of these children, of these babies. Where they said in Mount Hope Hospital, there is the Wendy Fitzwilliam wing. A wing, a wing, a section. Whereas a hospital, my friend, a hospital was built. Not a wing, Let me say it again, it's not a wing, A hospital was built. And had this hospital been opened and running and what it was meant for, we may have had lives not being lost. And that's the issue here. That's another issue. And we must also understand that Mr. Gayelle has not only sat on this issue, but it happened in 2018. It happened in 2015. And who was the Minister of Health? He was the Minister of Health. We must never forget he came to the Parliament. He came in 2021 and boasted of the great healthcare of Trinidad and Tobago. He boasted that there's mortality rates are not high. But in one swoop, you have close to 11 children dying. No, Minister. If it's so good, why that happened?
Yeah.
If it was so good, why is it that we still have persons lining up in hospitals to get a bed? Not one bed, a bed. My friend, outside of this issue with the NICU, let's look at cancer. And I take this personal because I have a family member who is battling cancer right now. In Mount Job Hospital, there was something being built called the Oncology Center. I hope it's okay if I talk about this.
Go right ahead.
Right? The Oncology Center was started under former Prime Minister Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning. And it was being built. It was being continued under the People's Partnership under Fuadka. Then came the Alsing, and it was brought to an end. What do you say? Well, they can go Grandy, they can go wrong St. James. But you being a member of Parliament St. Joseph, and I take it to him directly, because I am from St. Joseph. You have persons who are within your own constituency fighting cancer. You don't think it would have been bright, so if you put it right there in Mount Up, where persons have a choice to go more centrally based? And further to that, Mikey, let's talk healthcare. Our health centers are not open as the hours get under the People's Partnership. Let's talk healthcare in the form of employment, where we had, under the People's Partnership, we started a nursing training school to put nurses out there. That is now a thing of the past. We can tell you, Mikey, that there are doctors who can't get a job in this country. Do you know, Mikey, that there are some doctors pumping gas in Conopia? Do you know that?
No, I had no idea, no.
Yes. We have doctors who working in pharmacies. And they're not even a pharmacist. But they're working as, well, here, take that. Here, take this. But I listened to the minister by talking about doctors are seeing persons as dollar signs. So how insulting that was to the healthcare professionals in this country. And I must salute them, because they are the persons who work day and night. I have family members who are doctors, nurses. And you must remember for COVID, what this man did for COVID. Remember when our nurses were burnt out in that report that was done? And when he gave them a pan of cookies. What an insult.
Yeah, and you're so correct. And again, when asked the question about exactly what's going to happen next, he said that as far as the NWRHA, they went through above and beyond their usual sanitation cycles to ensure, as far as humanly possible, that there was no reoccurrence of the issue that took place. Now, you above and beyond now, and beyond the usual sanitation cycle, perhaps that should have been the one implemented to begin with. So somewhere along the line, somebody dropped the ball. But the fact of the matter is that we as citizens in this country, we really and truly have no faith, we have no belief, we simply do not think that at the end of the day, much is going to come out of this, besides some report that's going to be kicked down the road until after the general elections.
But Mikey, how many reports has this government initiated? How many investigations has this government initiated? How many has come forward as yet? Right? Further to that, I listened to the minister said that the opposition is demoralizing the healthcare workers. You know, it's a good thing you have me on TV, because the answer I would have given to that is not good for TV. But I will speak as I'm an English trained lawyer. And I will say, as my lecturers would say, what hogwash? What hogwash? Who is demoralizing these workers? It's the government. Because you're also hearing what is lacking in our government institutions. Imagine, Mikey, to go and to get an X-ray, you have to stand up and wait. To get any form of cardiac help in this country, you have to wait. And when they call your number, you might have been dead already.
Yeah.
And that is what is passing for healthcare under a people's national movement-led Rowley government.
And if you have to get an appointment for anything, you're lucky if you get it within a 24-month period. So you're talking about a minimum of 2 years or even more.
To do cancer treatment, guess what you have to do? If you decide to go St. James or Grandy, you have to go there and it's dead of the night because it's first come, first served.
Very sad.
And you come and stand up or sit down, you have to wait and wait. Because you know what? Just like how people, farmers and agricultural workers will line up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get into our markets. Those you will meet a line of persons waiting to get in for cancer treatment by 4:30 in the morning. And is that what is passing for healthcare in this country? No, that cannot be. I say today, and I am saying today and tonight, I'm calling for 3 things. 1, open the Couva Children's Hospital. And that is what it is, and call it by its name. 2, there must be an outright dismissal of the Minister of Health and that board. Because had it been anybody else there, the PNM, and I'm saying it, the PNM would have been up and down the road calling for people to go. They'll be in front of the parliament. They might have go in front of the hospital and saying some of the most nasty, derogatory names. We must never forget how they operate. And the third thing, I am saying that if the Prime Minister of this country, who said the buck stops with him, Mr. Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, if you do not fire your minister, sir, you have then sat on another national tragedy and you have done absolutely nothing. You have allowed this country to burn. We have a high murder rate. We now have a high mortality infant rate. We have a Minister of Health who is failing this country, and you, sir, are sitting on it and allowing it. You, sir, you must go and call a general election now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baig. I want to thank you so much for making your input this evening. It's always a pleasure, very outspoken. Best of luck to you and your entire team, and we will be speaking periodically right here on The Observer.
Just before I go, I just want to say one thing. That I, Brian Nathaniel Baig, stands fully in support of the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar as political leader of the United National Congress. I stand fully behind her, along with my members of my national executive, to go into a next general election, because this country knows that under Kamla Persad-Bissessar, you got better health care, you got the best health care than what you are getting now. And I'm telling Trinidad and Tobago, you must thank the woman they call Kamla Persad-Bissessar for an Arima Hospital, Point Fortin Hospital, the Couva Children Hospital. She ensured that you had your medical facilities opened for more than 24 hours at times. She also brought what is called the Children's Life Fund. And I am telling this country that it is time to return Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress. My friend, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baig.